Greetings and welcome to the weekly edition of the Safe Crypto Show. I am your host Tyler with co-hosts Mike and Jason. Each episode attempts to cover a range of topics, beginning with a roundup of the top cryptos of the week. Next, a discussion of general crypto news and happenings, and then we consider new and interesting projects and ICOs. All followed by a brief discussion of the weekly tech update by MadeSafe. Let's begin today's episode. Safe Crypto Show disclaimer. Please keep in mind at all times that we, the hosts and guests of the Safe Crypto Show, are not offering or giving investment advice. We only state our personal opinions and thoughts on our own interests. By watching, you agree to not hold us responsible for any losses you may incur by executing trades or by maintaining holds based upon the subjects discussed in our episodes. Well, here we are again, actually for the first time, but we've been trying this a few times, so we'll see what happens today. I'm Tyler Jordan, the host of the Safe Crypto Show. I'm down in Tasmania. It's about 4:37 in the morning, and I'm joined by my co-host Mike. It's about 11
Howdy, everybody.
Something in the morning there in sunny KC. Maybe it's not sunny, I don't really know.
It is actually sunny, but it got cold. It was unseasonably warm last week, but we got some actual winter weather this week.
Yeah.
Dropped about 40 degrees from fall time weather to winter in a couple of days. So welcome to Kansas.
It's a bit like that down here in Tasmania too. Hot, then cold, can't make up its mind. Weather around the world. Well, we're not here to talk about the weather, though. Bitcoin. Unbelievable. What a frickin' week. So, as of this recording, it's now $16,170 US. Time to sell. What do you think, Mike?
I don't know about time to sell. I know that some of the technicals on this say that this is probably a peak. We'll have to see what the general consensus of the masses are, but I've seen some pretty wicked swings in the price as of the past 24 hours on that, so who knows what direction it's going to end up going in the medium run of the next week or so. But all things considered, I go and I look at the total market cap. When I see that Bitcoin's dominance is almost 65% from the summertime highs of around 48 to 50%, it tells me that a lot of people are getting into the market, but it seems like all the money's going into Bitcoin at this point, which is good for the market in general. But knowing what we know about Bitcoin with its transaction volumes, it seems like it could be a storm brewing for Bitcoin because it has to be able to transact all the transactions, and the miners are getting rich while the people who want to use the cryptos end up paying more in transaction fees.
Well,
So I have to see how that develops in the medium term and see how well that goes for the average Joe public who wants to have a cheap and easy way to transfer money.
We'll get more into Bitcoin in the second topic because that is our second topic for today. Oh, I don't want to show that screen thing. Go away. Go away. I need the episode notes. Here we go. So, as we'll generally do this show, the first topic will be doing the top 10 cryptos. And then we'll go into any news for the week with the second topic, and third topic is any new coin or ICO in Spotlight, followed by topic 4, the MadeSafe update, which I will tack on later because it's not out yet. Okay, so top 10 basically. Well, we've discussed Bitcoin briefly. We'll get back to that in the second topic. So Ethereum, number 2. Anything happening with Ethereum lately? It's still up at pretty good highs. I'll just go into the Ethereum page on CoinMarketCap here for the viewers.
It seems to be pretty flat for the past week from about it's been above 400 and between 400, 450. Pretty stable between those two prices and stuff, but no real major moves in the past week.
Yeah, I don't, it seems to zip up for a while and then it stabilizes. A lot of people go into Ethereum to buy ICOs or to buy Ethereum specific contracts. I don't know if you've heard about CryptoKitties. That's a new one going around the web the last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A friend of mine has been mentioning it. It's kind of like Pokemon using crypto.
That's right.
From what I've seen of it. And to those people who are able to go and make some interesting kitties, I guess you got something that has a certain value to it.
Yeah. I wonder if the value that Ethereum's gone down a small little bit here the past day or so. It's probably all the new kittens being purchased. Apparently they have a 256-bit genome, so there's like 4 billion combinations of CryptoKitty.
I suppose if you have a unique one, then it probably could go for a good chunk of money. Seems like the random loot drops from my MMO games. Who knows what you're going to get on the set of statistics on that. I guess you get the same thing with your Ethereum CryptoKitties. So here's to diversity, I suppose.
Apparently it's very difficult to actually purchase them, though, because it has to interact with the Ethereum blockchain when it does the purchase, and so their website is just not. You go and you click on it, you probably got to be very patient to actually get your CryptoKitty. So that's a demonstration of, even though Ethereum is much faster than Bitcoin is in terms of transaction speed, it's really very overwhelmed at the moment because of so many transactions occurring on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I keep looking at whenever I see any particular crypto is how fast do the transactions go through, because, we're not in a very saturated, crypto market around the world yet, but at some point there will be the saturation, and as that happens, if the coin cannot handle the transaction load, then things are going to bog down for it at some point in the future.
Yes.
Something to keep in mind.
Well, Ethereum Classic is number 11 today. It's something to keep your eye on because it does pretty much everything Ethereum does, and if Ethereum gets too bogged down, could see more ICOs heading towards Ethereum Classic. But also Bitcoin with the coming of Rootstock. So, although Bitcoin's already kind of loaded down, I'm not really sure how well that's going to play out. Well, Rootstock is supposed to increase the speed of the Bitcoin network a substantial amount. I don't know if it'll be enough. So, on to number 3, Bitcoin Cash. Currently at 1,347 today. Open up the specific chart for Bitcoin Cash. Obviously, much higher transaction speeds with Bitcoin Cash than with Bitcoin. Bitcoin could be faster if more people would use the Lightning. No, it's not the Lightning Network. It's SegWit. Getting ahead of myself. The Lightning Network is not yet implemented on Bitcoin Network. But SegWit is, and I think only about 10 to 15% of transactions are occurring with the SegWit network, so not been very effective yet in terms of improving speed on the Bitcoin network overall. Bitcoin Cash, however, doesn't use SegWit, it uses a much larger block size, and so transactions there are not nearly so constrained. The price of Bitcoin Cash has been much more stable relative to Bitcoin. Not nearly so many new players coming in. It's been down a fair bit the last couple of days. However, I wonder if that's going to continue. I suspect that there's a fair few crypto players who are thinking, wow, Bitcoin, it's flying up, I'm going to get in on that. And so they're selling their other things and buying Bitcoin. And
That seems to be my impression as well.
I think
When I see that Bitcoin's that, the green, and we see as many in the red as we do, I kind of wonder how many of the people are selling out to go and get in on the big move that Bitcoin's been doing, especially in the past couple of days.
I reckon that's what's happening. Which I reckon that it will be a fairly short amount of time now before people will say, I've made some gains, I'm going to get out. And Bitcoin's going to see a big drop. But that may be wishful thinking on my part because I'm thinking about leaving today. Getting out for a bit, taking a Bitcoin nap.
Yeah, I've seen the market cap rising, so that's one of the things that I keep an eye on, and seeing how well the other currencies, the market cap and the BTC dominance are what I keep an eye on, and see what fluctuations we have there. But as it is now, I go and I look at, how many people are aware of it. That's becoming a lot larger now with all the press that Bitcoin's been in the news because of its meteoric rise. So I know that's bringing in some new people. And I think as far as for the market cap, I think we're actually going to see $1 trillion market cap probably sooner than later. I wouldn't even be a bit surprised if it was here before spring. That would be March for those in the Northern Hemisphere.
All right, let's move right along to IOTA, number 4. Down.
That one's been having some interesting developments this week. It ended up having a pretty sizable run-up, and did some major moves there towards a couple of days ago. It's down a little bit off its peak, but it's still up over the course of the past week, still up over 100%. So the people with the IOTAs are going to be pretty happy with those developments this past week. Just a question of how much of those gains will they be able to maintain? Is this going to be a new plateau for the coin, or will it be something that is more temporary at this point? We really don't know, but it seems to be holding on to a good chunk of the gains that it's made this past week.
Well, it looks like yesterday it reached its high of $5.54, and now it's down to $3.56, so it is quite off its high.
Yeah, but when you look at how much it was last week, it was about $1.50.
Oh yeah.
$1.20, $1.30. So
it's amazing.
It's still up a good chunk from what it started out the week on. It had a major bunch of activity and was up a couple 100%. So seeing it pull back.
I'm thinking it's kind of a classic pump and dump. I can't see why it would have gone up. I've been looking around and I can't find any significant news that would have driven it like that. So it looks to me like maybe a whale or a group of whales conspired to come in and push the price up to try to draw other people in, and then they're dumping. But
At this point, we don't know.
I don't know. Well, we can never really know about these things unless somebody, spouts off about. Yeah, it was me. I did it. Ha ha ha! Suckers. Yeah. But our third topic for the day is a new ICO entrant called Hyundai. I might pull up that here. Let's see. It's yeah. So, and they're going to be a competitor for IOTA and Walton, which are both Internet of Thing coins, IoT coins. IOTA, of course, is the most well known in this space. But Hyundai, of course, it's not actually owned by Hyundai, so it's a bit deceptive there, but we'll get into that later. Let's get on to number 5. If I can find... Oh, there we go. Lose track of the tab here. Ripple. Oh, Ripple. Ripple. What can you say about Ripple?
I've seen Ripple pretty stable for a really, really long time.
It is very stable.
All things considered. I mean, the past week it hasn't really moved a whole heck of a lot. Seems to be in the, for the past month, seems to be trending down slightly. Of course, its exchange rate versus Bitcoin has dropped precipitously due to Bitcoin's rise. But
yes,
if you go and compare its price to the price, in US dollars, that's been fairly static between 20 and 30 cents for quite some time.
it does have
So that's something that can be said for Ripple, is that its stability is pretty amazing considering the volatility in the market in general.
Yes. That said, I really don't have much interest in Ripple. I don't know why I'd want it. Stability, yeah, but I haven't spent any time. I don't really know anything much that they're doing over there these days. It just doesn't excite me. Ripple, where's the excitement?
Well, what about Dash? The next item on our list.
Dash I like. I'm a fan of Dash. I'm a fan of the Dash community. I'm not a part of their community. I don't spend any time over on the Dash forums. But I do like what they're doing. I think they've got a really great network effect. They're an anonymous coin. You can transact with them and use anonymous transactions. And they're working on more things all the time. They're constantly adding features. It has a really low cost transaction fee cost, and it's a very fast network. So it's fixed a lot of the problems that Bitcoin has. That said, I don't know why it had the huge run-up last week. It seemed to be mostly the South Koreans who were buying. South Koreans are buying a lot of Bitcoin as well. They're an abnormally large percentage of the crypto marketplace. Some speculate it's because of the insecurity over there with North Korea. Hard to say. Could be they're looking at it as a possible means of escape. If things get bad in North Korea, they'll flee to Japan or something, or the US, and have their cryptos.
Who knows? Price has been fairly, fairly stable, all things considered. In the past week, it's been pretty stable, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I kind of expected there to be a fairly big pullback. There's been a little pullback in the last couple of days, but
Yeah, but not as significant as we would expect
yeah,
after
given the
some
run-up that it
big
had,
run-ups and stuff. So
it's pretty surprising.
seeing as they're still above the price that it started out with before the run-ups,
Yeah.
they're holding on to some of the gains that they made from the run-up last week. So that's good for Dash. What about Litecoin, number 7 on our list?
Now, Litecoin, I find really interesting. I just don't know why other people don't. It has been moving up. It is a fairly stable coin. It's got features that Bitcoin doesn't have because Charlie Lee, the main guy behind Litecoin, is a little more open to developing, adding features and things. So I believe Litecoin has SegWit, and they're also may have even the Lightning Network installed. I'm not sure they've done that yet, but it's got SegWit and it's got bigger blocks, so it's quite a bit faster than Bitcoin. What I find most interesting, though, is just go back to the main page here. Is its volume, its regular volume, as compared to its market cap. That's something I look at with a lot of these coins. Like, you compare that to Dash, the volume, 24-hour volume of Dash relative to its market cap. When Dash was screaming up, its volume was fairly high, higher than it is right now, at 249 million. But Litecoin is always in a much more stable way, has a volume much more relative to its market cap. So what I mean by that is Litecoin is about, its market cap is about 10 times its volume on any given day, on average.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well.
Dash, however, not nearly so much, which to me indicates that the usage of Litecoin, typically day to day, is pretty good. I mean, even compared to Bitcoin, Bitcoin's volume is not nearly as high relative to its market cap as Litecoin is. And this is consistently, the case. And there are days when, one will be up quite a bit, volume might be really high. But this to me indicates that really the Litecoin is undervalued relative to its use. I'm not sure how else I can, why else would the volume be so high if people weren't actually using it day to day for something? So I tend to be pretty bullish on Litecoin. However, it just doesn't really seem to move. I mean, it has moved quite a bit. I can't say it doesn't move. It's gone up from $60 to over $100 in the past month, which is a pretty solid move. Whether it will stay there in a stable way or not is another question.
Seems like it's gone, once it got over 100, there may be a little bit of psychological resistance going much above that. Looks like there was a pullback down to about $84, $85 after its first run up to over 100. And then it seemed to make those back. It hasn't gone back down to the $60 level from a month ago.
Yeah.
So there may be some pressure keeping the price up there, which is good for Litecoin. for price stability.
I
And
think I might buy
next,
some more Litecoin myself, but it's looking to me like it might be a good time to shift from Bitcoin into Litecoin for a while. That's what I feel anyway. Oh, the next one is Bitcoin Gold. Oh,
the
Bitcoin
new kid
Gold.
on the block.
Yeah, I don't know if it's. I think, given the metric that I just used of volume to price, you'll see that it doesn't even come close to comparing to Litecoin or even Dash. It has gone up quite a bit though. Its volume has increased, although there's a fair bit of selling going on with it.
I think with it being as new as it is, I don't think the market has quite assimilated all the pertinent factors on Bitcoin Gold just yet. I think like any brand new coin, it's going to take a little while before the market figures out what they want to go and do with it.
That's true.
Then we see a little bit more stability in how it acts, comparatively speaking to the huge run-ups and sell-offs that happen right after it hits the exchanges. So
Opening up its chart here.
Highly volatile, I expect, for the next month or so at least on the Bitcoin Gold. Who knows, it could be $1,000 coin or it could be $100 coin. So
well, its price has been going down very stably over the past few days. A nice stable decline. So low volatility. I think there's a fair few Bitcoiners who are cashing out of it, though. We'll see what happens, though. Long term, it's unknown. I think they've got some marketing to do.
Then the next one on the list is Monero.
That's right. Monero's another one of those anonymous coins. It has a fairly good volume to price ratio. I haven't been tracking Monero very closely. It's not very exciting to me relative to Dash, and I think if I'm going to have an anonymous coin, I'd rather have Dash. Dash has a greater network effect, I believe. There's a lot of people involved in marketing Dash, and the network effect is a pretty big factor when it comes to cryptocurrencies and their value. See, Monero has had to pull back the last 24 hours that most coins have been experiencing, so
it's still up some from last week. That it was at 165 or so, and now it's up to about 260, so it's added about 100 bucks to its value, down a little bit from what it peaked at, around 315, 320. So
it
seems to be just fluctuating just like the market is at this point.
Last week, so it could be that it's due for something like that, but Dash may have just been a one-off runner there. Well, not Dash, but Dash and Bitcoin. They both had huge gains last week. Bitcoin continues with its gains, but Dash does not. Cardano. Now, I will be the first to admit I have no idea what Cardano is.
It is brand new to the top 10. It looks like in its past week it had a major run up.
I'm going to have to look into what Cardano is about. Although I'm worried that it's just going to be a one flash wonder that's zipped up and then it's probably going to come back down. Or who knows, maybe it's some amazing tech or coin and it's going to change the world. But I doubt it.
Well, it kind of appeared out of nowhere as far as my
just pop open their website real quick.
My knowledge and stuff, and it looks like it was running at a few pennies here until about a week and a half ago when it had a major run up. It seems to have maintained the price somewhat, a little bit off of its peak of about 14.5 cents a piece. And it's looking at about 11.3 cents on my charts at the moment. So
Yeah, in terms of US
definitely
dollars,
something to take a look at to see what it's about.
Just open their website here. It says Cardano is a decentralized public blockchain and cryptocurrency project and is fully open source. Cardano is developing a smart contract platform which seeks to deliver more advanced features than any protocol previously developed. It is the first blockchain platform to evolve out of a scientific philosophy and a research-first driven approach. The development team consists of a large global collective of expert engineers and researchers. It has the typical stuff up here. Learn, resources, transparency, white paper, community. I'll have to read into it.
We can take a look at that one for future episodes.
Their homepage doesn't really
see what happens with it until that point.
Strike me as being super interesting, but who knows? I'm maybe a bit negative about it.
So what's next on the list?
Ethereum Classic. Well, the volume on Ethereum Classic is quite good, and its price is quite low. It's got a better ratio there than Litecoin does. Ethereum Classic being a fork of Ethereum, it does pretty much everything that Ethereum does. I think I've got an alarm going off on my tablet. It's providing a nice little background music. I don't know if you can hear it.
So what is the next topic for discussion?
Oh, we were already out, aren't we? That's rank 11. Ethereum's Classic isn't in there. Okay,
yep.
On to the next topic then. Took me by surprise. That went faster than I thought. This week's topic is second topic. This is the news topic. So this week's focus is the Bitcoin run-up and the Bitcoin valuation. Of course, last week there was some pretty big drops, and this week is no exception. We're having more and more volatility. Well, there's a lot of hype about Bitcoin not being used as money and a store of value. I looked up last week. These are the show notes from last week that are on the screen at the moment. But we didn't actually get the show out last week. We're still having technical issues and trying to get a show out, so hopefully this will be the first one. Anyway, these show notes aren't quite updated, so I'm just going to be reading through them and we'll make the best of it. So, what I found interesting was the room of Satoshi, living room of Satoshi, says at their site, now this is an Australian site, it's not an American one, but just in Australia alone, they're processing $1 million a week in small bills, processing small, like electricity bills, that they allow people to convert their Bitcoin and use it to pay for household bills, grocery bills, things like that, rent payments. And they're doing $1 million a week. And that's just there in Australia. I'm not sure what kind of systems like this may exist in the US. I'd be curious to know. If anybody knows of anything like that, please leave a heads up, links in the comments, things like that. It'd be interesting to know if there's anything like that out there in the United States or other countries. China, I guess China has kind of outlawed a lot of things, so probably not much in China if there is, but I'd be curious to know what's going on in that regard. $1 million a week, though, that's quite a bit for Australia, which only has a population of 25 million people. Now, the other interesting thing here is this Zero Hedge article on valuing Bitcoin. This also came out last week, but still quite relevant. And it has to do with Metcalfe's law and the network effect. Now, Metcalfe was referring to Ethernet with regard to the growth in Ethernet networks and how many people were using them and so forth. But it's a network effect principle that applies to any network. And basically, the more people that use it, the more it's valued. That's the application for Bitcoin anyway. And as of last week, they had applied in this image here. Now, Mike, do you have the link to this?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I got it open.
Yeah. All right. So the interesting thing here, last week it was not nearly as high as it is this week, but we're still seeing a lot more people coming into the network. And so this is the question that arises, more people are coming in and using it, but are they coming in short term, just seeing the rise, and are they just going to pull back again, or are they coming in to actually use Bitcoin as either a store of value or for buying and selling for trade? That's the big question. I tend to think at this point that a lot of it is just to get in on the run-up, and they'll sell again as soon as they feel happy with what they've gained. And we'll see a big drop, and then it'll level off before, or consolidate, as they say, before moving higher again.
Yeah, I think that as far as the Bitcoin in general, you go and you look at how much saturation there is in the market, and more people every day are hearing about Bitcoin. They may not have any idea as far as for what it is, but when they go and use things in America like Coinbase to go and get into the market in some way, shape, or form, that actually bodes well, I think, in the long run, as long as the people, understand what it is that they're getting into. And if it's an investment that you're seeing, then you should be ready for some swings in the price. And if you're a long-term holder, or hodler as the phrase has been termed, then you're going to want to go and hold on to it for a good chunk of time. Now, I've seen, personally, a fair number of Bitcoins come and go. And the original coins that I had came from Tyler, and my response was, woohoo, a nickel. And then when he ended up doing some mining on his own and sent me 6 more of them, I was like, woo, a quarter. And had I had any idea that it would actually get to this, I remember Tyler asking me a question, well, what if it was 10 grand a piece? And I was like, all right, 80 grand, thanks. And here we are a few years later, and it's already bypassed that. So that's something that, when you go and you look at the total amount of monetary transactions that are done on a daily basis worldwide, and you compare that to the total market cap, I mean, it's not even a drop in the bucket. And that's the thing that I go and I look at, not necessarily just for Bitcoin, but for cryptos in general, is any new technology. We were looking at the same thing with personal computers back in my day in the early 80s. And the idea of having a personal computer in every house would have been comical. Well,
Yeah.
with the globalization that we've seen over the past handful of years, and the more interconnectivity of all the markets in all the various different countries, and a need to be able to go and process those transactions and payments with the minimum of interference and whatnot, then at that point you go and you look and you think of, well, how are they going to do it? And crypto fills that, fills that niche in an amazing sense. So as far as for the total volumes that we're seeing, I figure that coming into the next year, we're going to see a dramatic upgrade like we did this year. And I figure that probably within the next 1 or 2 years, the number of people who are aware of cryptocurrencies is going to rise very dramatically. And personally, I think that Bitcoin and other cryptos are going to be the number one investment over the course of the next year. And we're going to see a lot of interesting things on regulations, a lot of interesting responses by national governments and how they handle and how they get their slice of the pie. But I think we're seeing the advent of a completely new thing, just like we saw in the early 90s with the internet, jumping up from, just what me and Tyler saw at college with a thing called relay. So I think we're seeing the burgeoning of a brand new technology that I think bodes very, very well
You're making me
in
feel
general
old,
for
man.
those who are, already set up and ready to go. But that's just my 3 cents on the matter.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a pullback here at some point. Obviously, there will be.
I just don't think it's going to be a long-term pullback. I think it's going to be something that,
quite bullish
a
on it long term.
short-term pullback, like you say, but long-term, I have a feeling that it's going up much, much higher than where it's at now.
Well, I recommend that the viewers have a read of that article. The link to it will be in the show notes. I will also put the link at the below the video there as well. But it's a very interesting article, and is very bullish for Bitcoin really long term. Topic number 3. I think unless there's anything else you'd like to say about the Bitcoin.
No, I think we're pretty good for now. I'm pretty impressed with its move over the past week. It'll be interesting to see how much of this run up that it had this week, how much of it does it hold on to?
Yeah.
And any pullbacks, are they just stepping stones and platforms for another big jump, or is it going to come back down? I honestly think it's going to be going up more, but as far as for currently, I wouldn't be surprised to see some profit taking, as the pundits say on all the stock market shows.
I think I'm going to be taking some profits and step back for a few days and see what happens. I think with the volatility that I just imagine there's going to be more and more people who are in it who are going to say, I've made a fair bit and I'd like to keep some of that. So there are probably going to be more people pulling out just for a little while to see it come down and consolidate a bit before coming back in. That's what I feel. It could be that won't happen. It could be there will be more new people coming in that will sustain the price, even with people like me stepping out for a breather.
I have a feeling that there could be a lot of people who invest like our buddy Jason, who is absent at the present. He would have gone and pulled out his original investment and he'd say, now I'm playing with the house's money. Let's see how far it can run. Yeah. And that's a viable strategy to make sure that you have a profitable investment. I go and I look at it a little bit differently, but I'm a long-term holder more so than a active trader.
Well, saying that I'm going to pull out is, to be clear, I'm not going to pull out of the crypto space. I'm going to move into other cryptos and just shift it about a bit. And I think with the shifting that's happened the last few days, a lot of cryptos have gone down, particularly in the last 2 days. And I just think things are maybe a bit imbalanced. Anyway, it's just my gut. I could be completely wrong. Don't take anything I say as an investment advice. You want investment advice? Go find an investment professional. Next topic. So, interesting new coin or ICO spotlight. Kind of wanted to talk about Hyundai coin. Now they are an ICO. They have been created by a guy, I guess he's a family member or relative of one of the top Hyundai Corporation executives. So it's strictly not related directly to Hyundai. However, I guess if it does well or is doing features that Hyundai really likes, then Hyundai could take an interest in it at some point. I guess the idea there is they've got the ear of the Hyundai executives, so who knows what could happen. Now they're creating a competitor coin for IOTA and Walton. It's an Internet of Things system of some sort. Let's see, I got their white paper link here. I might just pull that up. So their symbol is going to be HDAC, Transaction Innovation, Internet of Things, Contract, and M2M transaction platform based on blockchain. M2M, I believe that's machine to machine. So that's what the Internet of Things is supposed to allow, is the communication between your refrigerator and your toaster, making deals behind your back. I don't know. It's a bit of a scary future. I don't know what they might start plotting when they get together, but we'll find out. It's gonna happen. Smart technology, smart machines are more and more coming into our environment. I was looking on eBay yesterday for a smart microwave. I was thinking, I wonder if there's a microwave that I can control with my smartphone. Put in the time on there. I couldn't find anything very clear about that, so probably not going to be getting one of those soon. But apparently they're
if they don't have one already, I can't imagine it being very long before they don't have something like that. Controlling things with apps on your phone seems to be a very big primary feature that a lot of appliances are being added.
Smart houses, smartphones, smart cars. There's not going to be much left for us to do except to either creatively come up with new solutions to problems or become a servant of the machine. So the executive summary, I just might step through that. The executive summary of HDAC Hyundai coin. The Internet of Things industry is on the verge of exponential growth. The HDAC platform provides the missing building blocks needed to enable Internet of Things environments to thrive. Number 1, authentication. Devices can be correctly identified by one another. 2, mapping. Once identified, they can connect seamlessly with each other. 3, machine-to-machine transaction. Devices can then bill each other. Oh, that can't end badly. HDAC will solve these three issues by combining blockchain and Internet of Things, allowing automated machine-to-machine, ultra-low-cost transactions between Internet of Things devices that are authenticated, mapped, and verified through the blockchain. In its architecture, the HDAC system uses a combination of public and private blockchains, which allows for previously unattainable transaction speeds. The technology will use quantum random number generation to secure these transactions. The HDA system will ultimately ensure the efficiency and security of exponential growth of the Internet of Things industry. And they have this really nice looking graphic here. Again, this white paper will be linked in the show notes. Please have a look at it if you're interested in their offering. Considering how well that both IOTA and Walton have done, Hyundai is likely to do similarly, maybe at least as well as Walton, I suppose. We'll have to do a brief discussion on Walton in the future, just to cover our Internet of Things basis. I don't know how I feel about Hyundai Coin, given that it is third to enter this race.
Depends on the team behind it.
It could be
you can have a really good team that can make a difference. You don't have to be first, you just have to be best.
That's true.
So
makes a difference.
Evaluating the team, I think, could be part of the evaluation of the coin and the ICO in general. Part of your due diligence. Make sure you do it.
Yeah, there is a first mover advantage that IOTA has. I think Walton is more specialized in what they're trying to do with Internet of Things, but again, we'll have to do a brief show on them at some point in the future to maybe do a comparison between the three. Do a show on that, maybe. I don't really see that the demand here for any of the Internet of Things.
It could be a bit ahead of the curve, seeing where the world's going and what needs to be done down the road a few years.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, maybe with IOTA now at number 4, I mean, I'm not sure where Walton is. Just going to scroll down and look at the moment.
It's further back.
Yeah, it's down here ways. There it is. It's at number 54. It's off 10%. But, yeah, I mean, even its valuation at 188 million, that's pretty good.
Sorry about that.
Alright, well, I think that should wrap up for our topic number 3. The last topic is the MadeSafe update, and I'm going to do that in a separate section because they haven't released their update this week. So that'll wrap it up for our meeting today, Mike. I really appreciate you joining. And yeah.
Good to get the first one of these in the bucket. We'll see what we can go and do for the future.
By tomorrow, I hope. Yeah.
Very much so.
And hopefully next week, Jason will be able to join us too and bring a little more excitement to the mix.
Having more people to bounce ideas across and get additional opinions is going to be good.
So thanks, and we'll just end this bit here, and I'll start topic 4 in the next section. Thanks.
Sounds
for joining
good.
us, Mike. And,
talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Welcome to part 2 of the Safe Crypto Show, wherein I discuss the weekly MadeSafe update. This week, we have an update to the MadeSafe browser, the new browser, and further progress with data chains, a marketing team expansion, and various little updates to the code. I won't be going into those. I'm going to stick with the main 3 topics. I'm going to keep this update short. The main part of the show went longer than I expected. We're going to try and keep the show a bit shorter than that. Even though it is a weekly show, it is a bit difficult to most people, I think, to sit for an hour to watch a few guys ramble on about anyway, so the MadeSafe browser, now they've recently rebuilt the browser. Well, I shouldn't say rebuilt, they've restarted their browser. They had a browser before that wasn't meeting all their needs, so they've started from scratch, building on, I believe it's called Electron, which is the same browser base that Google Chrome uses. And the important thing to know about this browser long term, they're going to have it so it has no access to the ClearNet. Now, the ClearNet is a term that you may not be familiar with. It's a term used on the MadeSafe forum quite a bit. Basically means anything outside MadeSafe. And the reason that's important is if you were using a browser that accessed both MadeSafe and the ClearNet, and somebody sent you a link in MadeSafe or through the Safe network, I should be saying Safe network here, and you were to click on that and it went to the free net, that could potentially expose you and de-anonymize you. So it's important to have a browser that doesn't access the ClearNet. So they've made progress with that, and they've got a new update for that out. The next thing on the list is data chains. They've made progress with data chains. They've been working mostly theoretically up until a couple weeks ago, and now they've started into the code, and that's progressing quite well. So they're thinking it's not going to take as long as they'd thought, which is great news. And the last bit I want to throw in is the marketing team expansion. It looks like they've got a new person working on there. His name is Doug Campbell. He's been a big Bitcoiner for a while, involved in Bitcoin marketing. Let's see. Doug has been a fairly central part of a small but flourishing Bitcoin scene in Scotland for a few years now. He organized Scotland's first Bitcoin conference in 2014 and even spoke about it later that year at TEDx Glasgow. He has been in touch with MadeSafe for the past few years, and with his experience within other technology companies in a variety of roles and his easygoing, relaxed nature, he'll be a great fit helping to plan and execute MadeSafe's marketing and outreach strategy. So that sounds great. I'm really excited that MadeSafe is going to get more attention, more of a spotlight put on it over the next few months. It's really needed, and the ideal here is that we'll get more developers into the space, and that in itself will long-term really facilitate the growth of SafeNet and attracting more people to it. So that's all I'm going to do for this week. I thank you all for listening, and please subscribe, and I promise we will make better videos in the future. It's not very good. We've had a lot of trouble getting even this first video out, a lot of technical difficulties. I've still got some technical difficulties, and hopefully over the next month or so we'll start to iron out these bugs and things will go a lot more smoothly. So thanks again, and see you next week. Thank you for joining us today on the Safe Crypto Show. We hope you found the episode informative and helpful. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share our video with others. Tune in next week for another interesting episode.